We had a couple Chris Christie sound bites. He was on the Ask the Governor show radio last night, took it to a caller named Penny who didn't understand why she was going to have to pay for some of her health care with the state being in debt. A story here from the Asbury Park Press. New Jersey's burgeoning numbers of poor and nearly poor show the need for government to provide more help, more care, more protection to its suffering residents, according to a report on poverty issued yesterday. The report made public by the Poverty Research Institute of Legal Services of New Jersey says that nearly 2 million residents, more than the combined populations of Boston, Baltimore, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, are either in poverty or hovering on the edge of the federal threshold for poverty. So what they're saying is that we have 3 whole cities worth of poor people in New Jersey, in one state. I'm struck here. Among the most affected, who do you think's hardest hit here? That's right, children, women, the elderly, African Americans, Hispanics, and single mothers. The coalition of the screwed. These are the people that are constantly suffering the most in America. The coalition of the screwed. Women, children, the elderly, African Americans, Hispanics, and single mothers. Now just stop for a second and think about a culture that embraces, supports, and encourages strong families with a father and mother, and see if you find them in the midst of the coalition of the screwed. I mean, I hate to be so blunt about it. Now, Asbury Park, New Jersey, is the home of the Barack H. Obama School that is being closed due to lack of students. Oh, you didn't hear about that? Asbury Park, New Jersey, the Barack H. Obama School, they're shutting it down. Lack of students. It was just announced last week. It's an elementary school. Anyway, if you believe these numbers, poverty level as defined by the federal government, $10,400 single person, $14,000 for a couple, $17,600 for a family of 3, $21,200 family of 4. That's poverty level. If there are nearly 2 million people in New Jersey living near poverty, what more can be done the way we're doing it? I mean, this bunch is demanding more government. New Jersey's burgeoning numbers of poor and nearly poor show the need for government to provide more help, more care, more protection to its suffering residents. What in the world has the war on poverty been? We're in debt helping people. We're $14 trillion in debt helping people. New Jersey, $67 billion in debt helping. What have we not done? What's the transfer of wealth that's already taken place? It's going to be $8 trillion since the Great Society? What more could we do? At what point does a person's lot in life become their responsibility? At what point? But here you have, and isn't it interesting, while all this is happening, these reports come out as Christie, in a lot of people's mind, is just kicking butt out there. Every time he opens his mouth, he's scoring points. Republican presidential wannabes apparently are flying into New Jersey to talk to him, almost as though getting his stamp of approval. He's saying he's not ready to run yet, but nobody's really quite sure whether he means it or not. But clearly there's a lot of interest in him. He is scoring a lot of points with people, and all of a sudden, he's presiding over a state that doesn't care about people. According to this report, New Jersey's burgeoning numbers of poor and nearly poor show the need for government to provide more help, more care, more. How can there be any more care? How can there be any more help? At what point does a person's lot in life become their responsibility? Not supposed to ask that question, folks. We are not supposed to ask that. But this coalition of the screwed, children, women, elderly, African Americans, Hispanics, single mothers, How many of the families that are strong, father and mother, are in this coalition of the screwed? I think there might be some cultural reasons here, folks, rather than the fact that government doesn't care enough. Here's another story on New Jersey. This from the Newark Star-Ledger. Christie's budget cuts left New Jersey schools unable to provide thorough and efficient education, according to a judge. Governor Chris Christie's deep cuts to state school aid last year left New Jersey schools unable to provide a thorough and efficient education to the state's nearly 1.4 million school children, according to Superior Court Judge Peter Doyne. Doyne was appointed as a special master in the long-running Abbott versus Burke school funding case, issued an opinion that also found the reductions fell more heavily upon high-risk districts and the children educated within those districts. Despite spending levels that meet or exceed virtually every state in the country, and that saw a significant increase in spending levels from 2000 to 2008, our at-risk children are now moving further from proficiency. So, what is he saying here? The story says Christie's budget cuts left schools unable to provide thorough and efficient education. By the way, what's that? What is a thorough and efficient education? Judge gets to define that, I guess. But the story says it's budget cuts. The judge's ruling, despite spending levels that meet or exceed virtually every state in the country, and it saw a significant increase in spending levels from 2000 to 2008. Our at-risk children are now moving further from proficiency. Well, what are we to do? Doesn't sound like they're budget cuts. It sounds like we're spending more than ever before. We're spending more than every state in the country. Education is not thorough and not efficient because of Christie's budget cuts. There are 591 school districts in New Jersey. Not 592 and not 590. 591. 2,400 schools in the state of New Jersey. Might that be a problem? Or at least contributory to the problem? But regardless, it's the long knives are out for Governor Christie on this. I mean, this is nonsensical. We're spending more than we ever have, exceed virtually every state in the country. Spending levels significant increase 2000 to 2008, and yet the headline budget cuts left schools unable to provide thorough and efficient education. Again, at what point is someone's education their responsibility? At what point do we rename the coalition of the screwed the coalition of the willingly screwed? At what point? I feel sorry for these people, and we've been feeling sorry for them for 40 or 50 years now. And what's that accomplished? One of the things I always ask myself during periods like this, story after story after story of endless poverty, endless suffering, and yet down the street there isn't any. On that part of town and many, many other parts of town, there isn't any. Why? What is the reason for the disparity? Now, don't give it his life's lottery as unfair business. That's what the Democrats want you. That's of course the underpinning theory behind redistribution. Many factors involved. Entitlement. I have expected that this should be given me or what have you. Lack of properly motivated people. Inspired people, educated people, misunderstanding the difference between empathy and sympathy. The war on poverty is sympathy. The great society is sympathy. Helping people help themselves is empathy. You know, teaching a man to fish, that is empathy. But we have a sympathy-based foreign policy. We just feel sorry for everybody. Feel sorry for them and then come up with policies to make ourselves feel better, but not change the outcome of anybody's life in a serious way because we don't teach them to help themselves. We'd rather blame their plight on political opponents.